One of the first things we need to do when preparing our app for upload is to prepare our icons and splash screens for both iOS and Android. Now, we have a number of graphical elements that we need to produce for both of these platforms. For Android, we need to create 5 icons. We need to create one called ldpi.png at 36 by 36 pixels. This is for small screen sizes. We also have an MDPI at 48 by 48 pixels, a HDPI at 72 by 72, an XHDPI at 96 by 96, and an XXHDPI at 144 by 144 pixels. All of these files need to be saved as PNGs. We also have a number of icons to create for iOS. These icon sizes are iTunes artwork.png at 512 by 512 pixels. Remember, like the Android, they must be saved as PNG. iOS will actually reject them if they are not saved as a PNG. Now, this particular icon, the 512 by 512, will be used for the app list in iTunes. We also have an iTunes artwork at 2 times. This needs to be 1024 by 1024 pixels. Also used for the app list in iTunes, but on devices that have Retina display. We have a icon 60 at 2 times, which needs to be 120 pixels. This is used on the home screen on iPhone and iPod Touch if it has a Retina display. We have an icon 60 at 3 times, which needs to be 180 by 180 pixels. This is used on the home screen on an iPhone 6 Plus. The icon 76 needs to be 76 by 76 pixels, and it's the home screen icon for iPad. We also have an at 2 times for this at 152 pixels by 152 pixels. This is used on the home screen of any iPad that has a Retina display. We have icon small 40 at 40 by 40 pixels. This is just used for spotlight. And an icon small 40 at 2 times. This one's used for spotlight on devices that have a Retina display. And the next one, the icon small 40 at 3 times, as you can probably guess, is used as the spotlight icon on iPhone 6 Plus. We also have a much smaller icon, the icon small at 29 by 29 pixels. This one's actually used in the settings menu. And an icon small at 2 times, which is 58 by 58 pixels. It's used in the settings menu on devices that have a Retina display. And an icon small at 3 times, which is also used in settings, but on the iPhone 6 Plus. All of these files should be produced with these names, and they should all be PNG. They should all have the exact pixel dimensions that have been mentioned in here, and they should all be produced without any pixelation. iTunes will reject any app from the store if you upload a icon that has any sort of pixelization or is just 1 pixel out of place. Now, to create our icons, we're going to go into Fireworks CS6, and the first thing we need to do is we need to open a new file. As our largest icon was 1024 by 1024 pixels, we're going to start there, and we're going to make it a custom color, and we'll pick the blue that we were using previously to make our app. Now, as I already have in my clipboard, the icon that we used previously in the menu system to represent our restaurants, I'm just going to paste that in there. It needs to be done as a vector, so that way when we shift click on the corner of it, it'll change without getting any pixelization through it. Remember what I said earlier about iOS? It can't be pixelated, so we need it to be a vector when we're doing this. We're going to make it a bit larger, make sure that it's all centered. Once we've got it centered, we need to remember that we have to export this as a PNG. To export this as a PNG, we need to go to our Optimize tab up in the right hand corner, and we need to select on PNG 8. We can fiddle with the colors if we want. Try to get your file size down as small as possible. If we change to 128, we're probably not going to get any difference. So that's small enough. So now we go back to our original. We now need to go to File, Export, and then we need to navigate to where we want to save it. We'll create a new folder here, and we're just going to call it Icons. Go into there, and remember we had to be very picky about the names of the files. So this one here is iTunes Artwork, and then we save it, and I go to where I just saved it. We have iTunes Artwork, and it's a PNG. So from here we now need to work our way through the rest of the icons that we had. So I already know that the next icon size down is 512 by 512. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're not clicked on our vector, and we need to go to canvas size, and we need to change this to 512 by 512. Hit OK, and then click on the corner of our icon and shrink it back down. Make sure that it's centered again. Make sure the proportions are what you're happy with. Because we've already set it to a PNG 8 and set our colors before, we now go back to File, Export, and this time we know that the file name that we want for this size is iTunes Artwork at 2 times. So we add the at 2 times and click Save, and now we're ready to move on to the next size. I'll get you to go through and do all the icons that were listed previously in the video and make sure that their file names are all correct as listed in the video, and then we will return back to work on splash screens.